What's up? Thank you for tuning in today. Thanks to Humans for bringing us in. Thanks to you for supporting the show. I'm Shane Raymer, and you're listening to That Sober Guy podcast, where we talk about drugs, alcohol, recovery, and some other fun shit as well. We also like to think we help some people stay sober, and I know this show has helped me stay sober over the last 5 years, and if that's all it's done, it's definitely done its job. Today we're talking with Nick Rucker. And Nick's a veteran both of Iraq and Afghanistan, and with 10 years of service under his belt. He's now off active duty, and he's transitioned to the National Guard. Nick's also a country musician based out of Omaha, Nebraska, and he travels throughout the year playing shows all around the country. He's been sober for almost 3 years, and you can check out his music at nickruckercountry.com, and we'll be sure to put those links and links to his social media and website all in the show notes as well. Before we get to Nick, be sure to check us out at thatsoberguy.com. And you can also connect with us on Instagram at RealThatSoberGuy and on Twitter at Shane Raymer. Let's talk about Foundations Recovery Network real quick. We've been working with Foundations since 2016. We get to go out and do podcasting and connect with some great people at their conferences throughout the year. And they really are some great people. Now, we all know finding the right treatment for addiction and mental health illness can be tough. And you don't know who to go to, where to turn. There's a lot of different organizations out there, and it's really important that you find one that you can trust and that has a great reputation. And that's why we've continued to partner with Foundations Recovery Network. They stay true to their mission. They hold high ethical standards, and they provide treatment in a nationwide network of residential and outpatient programs. As part of the vision, they built the industry's leading research and outcomes program to study and improve how we're fulfilling this commitment to each patient, their loved ones, and, of course, meeting their personal goals. I promise you'll be taken care of, and if you want a great resource, you can call Foundations Recovery Network. To learn more, you can go to foundationshelp.com/soberguy, or you can also call 833-81-SOBER. That's 833-81-SOBER, and you can talk with an admissions coordinator about treatment options. Real quick, we get a lot of questions about early sobriety. What do I do? Where do I go? What don't I do? I always like to say this. I definitely don't have all the answers. I know what's worked for me and what hasn't worked for me. And I've heard, some other people share their stories as well. And that's why we put together a podcast video course called How to Navigate the First 90 Days of Sobriety. We got a bunch of my good friends and colleagues together to share certain experiences, to share what worked for them, what hasn't worked for them, and really talk about recovery. You can get that course by going to thatsoberguy.com and clicking on courses. There's a promo code where you can get it for half off, and you just type that in the promo box at checkout, half off. And then also, and it's great too that we're having Nick on today, who's a veteran himself. We give this course away for free to all veterans. We love our veterans. We love our active duty as well in the military, and we always want to support them. And so if you are a veteran out there and you're trying to get sober, you're trying to stay sober, or you have a loved one who's a veteran who's trying to get some help out there, and you want something to kind of start you off on that path, you can DM me on Instagram at RealThatSoberGuy for details. We'll chat a little bit, and then I'll hook you up with the promo code where you can get that course for free. And once again, that's thatsoberguy.com, and click on courses. All right, Nick Rucker, welcome, my friend, from Omaha, Nebraska, minus 20 degrees out there today. What's up, man? How are you?
Hey, Shane, how's it going? Yeah, it's super cold. The coldest I think I've ever experienced. So,
yeah, what's up with that? Like all of a sudden there was just like this massive cold front that moved in from what is it, the Arctic, or I don't know how the hell, I'm not a weatherman, but somewhere, man, It's like Arctic weather.
They called it a polar vortex, and I just didn't want to be a part of it, but unfortunately here I am.
Yeah, it's crazy.
I was in Florida a couple weeks ago, and it was 80 degrees, and then went to Seattle a couple weeks ago too, and man, it's just like one spectrum to the next for me.
Yeah.
So, but whatever.
What were you doing in Florida and Seattle? Were you playing some shows?
No, I work for a foundation and concrete recovery or restoration company in Omaha, And so I send me out and I do training and train guys on how to
Nice.
install our products. So
Got
I
it.
get to see all certain parts of the world. While I was in Washington, I did play at an open mic in Olympia, which was nice
Nice.
because hey, here I am. I'll play one song at least.
No, that's cool too. So you get to you get to kind of you're traveling and then you're making the best of your time too. And I mean, because really, whether you're podcasting, doing comedy, doing music, like whatever it is, we all got to try to make the best use of our time and get it in where we can. I know. Like for me, music and of course podcasting now is really a big passion of mine. And it sounds like music's a big passion and a big part of your life too. So it's cool that you're able to keep it and incorporate it into your everyday life.
Oh yeah, it's huge, man. Just trying to network and get to know more people. I've had more opportunities come up because I randomly stopped, and talked to somebody who was carrying a guitar
Yeah.
than I have, reaching out to somebody on Instagram or something
Yeah.
like that. Like, hey, let's play a show together.
Yeah.
So I think it's important. And especially whenever I'm out on the road, it's like I'm going to these states and even into Canada where it's like, hey, you never
Yeah.
know, I may
Oh
find
yeah.
myself here with my guitar. So let's
It
plant
was,
a
it
seed
was
now.
it was crazy. Like Jess and I, we went out to Nashville. Man, was that last year or the year before? Now I can't keep track of time. It goes by so fast. It was within the last 2 years, and I've been out to the conference out there, the Foundations conference, and we do some podcasting. I mentioned in the intro. Um, but the second time we went, Jess came with me, so we got to actually hang out in Nashville, and we went downtown on the main strip there. And bro, it's so amazing, like how many people there are walking around carrying guitars. Like every single restaurant, club, or bar you go by, and there's just a different either band or solo artist or just like, I don't know, the music scene, it was pretty neat out there. The other half of that is that it smelled, and no offense to Nashville, I love it, but in the early morning it smelled like piss and throw up from all the drinking and stuff that was going on. Yeah.
Straight
Yeah.
ass. That's
Yeah.
what.
Pretty much.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and I remember, and this is a horrible story, but back in my drinking days, that was my last experience really with Nashville. Was
Really?
going out there and doing a co-write and recording a song with a girl that a buddy of mine had written for her. And
What's a co-write? That's where you both you're co-writing the song together, I'm assuming.
yeah. So I guess in the spectrum of writing lyrics and being a songwriter, sometimes whenever you're an up and comer like myself, it's easier to get in with somebody who's been doing it for a long time
Got it.
and kind of get your name out there. And so he had written a song with her, and she was going to record it. And so we went out, and she recorded it in Jay DeMarcus's studio in Rascal Flats. He's one of the guys in Rascal Flats. So they were at she was at his house. They recorded there. And anyway, long story short, I went out there. We had this co-write that I was going to do with a guy that I knew from Kansas. And instead of doing the co-write, I got obliterated drunk. And
Oh man.
it was like, I remember waking up that next morning and I was like, holy shit. Like, I was out here
Yeah.
for a reason and did not accomplish that reason. So.
Well, dude, you know what's so funny about that, man? And I've had a conversation with a friend of mine recently, just about like nerves. Like when you have something to commit to, like a certain event, or in this case for you, a co-write, you're going to meet with some people there. There's a lot of nerves that go on in something new like that. And it could be a number of different things and whatever you're doing in life, I guess, even just showing up to the 9 to 5 every day. Do you think like nervousness and anxiousness, did that have a little bit to do with it? Or was it more or less just like, I just want to party down and do the thing?
Oh, I think how it is. It's like for me at the time, it was like that came first.
Yeah.
Alcohol was first, and it didn't matter who was at that point. I was getting deep into the alcoholism, so it didn't matter who was around me or who it affected or what I was doing. That was going to take precedence. And and it was at that time, it really wasn't a nervousness. I just think that it was so routine. It was like I was getting more comfortable with where I did it, and I didn't care who saw, how I acted and everything else. So it wasn't a big deal to me to get shit-faced in front of, this guy that I respected as a songwriter. Because like, hey man, this is music, dude. This is what has to happen.
Well, yeah, and man, I had that perception of like music and the music industry, and for a long, long time too. Just kind of what you said, like this is just what you do. You drink, you smoke, you do drugs, and you make music. And I know, just from an artist perspective, I always felt like it helped me create better when I was high. And I think to some extent, for some people, that might be true to some, I know that I could definitely reach spots where I could get creative when I was loosened up and felt a little bit different. The problem for me, obviously, is that it never stayed at that. It always went 10 times further and, led me into, addiction and all that whole stuff. But so what kind of got you, let me transition out of that real quick though. What kind of got you into like country music? Like who are some old, do you have a love for like old school country, or where did music kind of start for you?
For me, it was, so growing up in the Midwest in Missouri, the local radio stations were all country. What I remember back to is like George Strait, Garth Brooks.
Yeah.
My parents weren't real, they didn't listen to a lot of old school country. So we're not talking, back to Hank Williams or anything like that. That was just not, my parents in general weren't musicians. So, so that's where it got started for me. And, one of the earliest memories is like, the first CD I ever got was George Strait's Easy Come, Easy Go. And then shortly after that, Pure Country came out. And so Pure Country, the movie, I don't know if you've seen it or not.
I don't think I have.
If you get a chance, it's a great movie. Okay. Pure Country, watching that, and then I bought the CD. Literally, that was one of those CDs where I put it in, and still to this day, I know which songs come in next because I've listened to it so much. Things kind of changed. I got into a crowd of guys in high school that were more into metal. We listened to a lot of Nine Inch Nails and
what about Tool? Do you like Tool?
See, I did. At the time, I didn't like Tool. I didn't think my brain could comprehend what was going on in Tool at the time. Yeah. Now it's like child's play, I guess. Because I'm listening to bands like Between the Buried and Me and stuff like that are just ridiculously crazy. Yeah. But so over time, I was in metal bands and I was a metal singer and or more geared towards rock. But it just got so taxing on my vocals, and at the end of each show, you could tell within, that 45-minute span, I was just losing my voice. I wasn't properly trained. And so it came around about 3 years ago. I was like, I was at the height of my alcoholism about 3 years ago. And nobody wanted to be around me, So it was like, well, fuck you guys. I'm going to do this on my own, And, out of spite, this whole country music thing kind of came together. Funny enough. And so I was like, I've been a good songwriter. I've always written songs that people did enjoy hearing.
Yeah.
And my songs are more geared towards relationship stuff, and they sound country. So it's like, let's just go in this direction and see what happens. So I kind of cut my teeth on some red dirt country while I was living in Kansas and listening to guys like Brandon Ryder or Sturgill Simpson, and some buddies of mine that I played with. That's what they were playing. So out of necessity, I had to learn some stuff. So that's kind of the story. That's honestly how I got to where I am with
that's cool, man. And so but you played music even before you got into so much playing country. And then were you a musician and playing in those bands? That was before you joined into the military?
Oh yeah. So I've
Okay.
been ever since I was like 16ish. I've been a singer at some point in my life, in a band or solo
Yeah.
now. So yeah,
And then what I'm assuming in after you got out of high school, you ended up joining the military, and you I mentioned in the intro, you served in Afghanistan, you served in Iraq. What was you want to share a little bit about that? Like, what was your job in the military, and how did that kind of lead into the addiction side of things too?
yeah, man. So I joined the army in 2008, and I was, even before the military, I was drinking. It just wasn't as heavy and apparent
Hmm.
as it became throughout my career in the military. So joined in 2008
What branch were you
and
in?
Army.
The
Yeah, I was
Army.
active
Okay.
active duty Army, and so within the first year, after training was all over, I went through. I was a tank electrician. That's there's nothing glorified
Really?
about that, So what you see in movies, that's not what I did.
Yeah.
Um, and so I was a tank electrician, but they didn't in Iraq. We weren't really using tanks anymore. So out of necessity, I had to learn how to work on guns.
Mm.
And so went to Iraq, did that, and I ended up doing more construction style work while I was in Iraq. And so I'm writing a book about this now, and we've
Really?
we've gotten about 100 pages in as far as editing and getting into the depth. I'm trying to piece back where in my timeline where did this start picking up and become a huge problem, so I can help
Yeah.
people more in the future. And so in Iraq, we got bombed all the time. Like every other night, it was like mortars coming in, and it just became a point where it was like now it's not so apparent now, but stuff used to startle me more than it probably should. Loud
Yeah.
noises, and I used to chalk it up. Hey, pussy, get your shit together. And it's like that only goes so far before it's like, all right, I'm not this other guy that's not having issues. I'm me, and so
Yeah.
let's address this stuff.
But I would imagine though, like, and please correct me if I'm wrong, but like, because I've obviously never been in Iraq. I've never experienced that. Thank God, like having to deal with that high stress of bombs going off, and um, like you almost, I would think you almost have to take that stance of like, suck it up, pussy, like be a man and get your job done, because it's almost like it would seem like it's almost like a defense mechanism in order to be able to handle that stress and to be able to go through that. You kind of have to develop this calloused, like, sense of mind or attitude or whatever. Does that make sense?
Yeah, and I think David Goggins kind of discusses that too
Yeah.
in
Yeah.
all of his
It's a
work.
great
He's like,
book.
yeah, and talking about callousing your mind, making you stronger. But eventually, you have to address that stuff. And so, with me, it was more of it was out of necessity. I wasn't going anywhere. Like Iraq wasn't leaving,
Yeah.
So I wasn't like going to be like, well, I've had fun, so I'm going to go home. But no, no, it's like,
Yeah.
well, you're stuck here until
Yeah.
you hit that year mark. And so I really didn't notice it until the night that I got home. I stayed at my mom's house, and I hadn't slept in like 3 days, I think, whenever I got home, and I had a panic attack, and I've never experienced a panic attack before in my life. And I thought I was having a heart attack. So she rushed me to the ER, and the doctors were like, have you been anywhere recently or done anything that's, life changing? And I'm
Yeah.
like, oh, I just finished a deployment to Iraq. And they're like, oh shit, that would have been nice to know before you walked in.
Yeah. Right.
And
Yeah.
so they gave me some Ambien to help me sleep, which is horrible because I have an addictive personality. Anyway,
Sure. Sure.
and that stuff's highly addictive. So um, I got home and slept it off. Well, as soon as I was going to fall asleep, my mom had closed the door, and she said that I shot up out of bed and like tried to like approach her like somebody was attacking
Really?
me. And I was like, what the fuck? Like I've never had a situation where
Do
in
you
my
do you
life,
well, do you think is that from the Ambien? Do you think that's from the Ambien?
I think, yeah, a
And
mixture of the two.
the
Yeah.
only, the only reason I mentioned that too, because when you said that, I just remembered back. Joe Rogan had Roseanne Barr on a couple months back. I don't know if you caught that episode. They talked a lot about Ambien in there, about how Joe had some friends, and then same with Roseanne, just doing the craziest shit and not remembering it in the morning, just kind of like what you're describing. Like you wake up in the middle of the night, like I think he was saying his homie would go out and he'd like make like a whole meal in the kitchen. He'd wake up, there'd be pots and pans and just shit everywhere, and then all of a sudden he wouldn't even remember doing it, dude. That's a trip. So they prescribed you this, and that's scary, bro. That's scary.
It was crazy. And people were telling me, like I took it for 6 months, and people were like, dude, were you drunk last night? And I'm like, no, I wasn't. And people were talking about like, oh, I remember like I was driving on this. Like I would go out and get in my car and actually drive. And I don't remember any of it. It's like once I started hearing that stuff, I was like, I went to the military doctors and they're like, holy shit, yeah, you shouldn't be taking this. And they took it away as soon as they found out. And I, probably at the time I was starting to get addicted to it. So it was probably good that they took it away.
Were you mixing it with alcohol too?
Oh yeah.
That's what they talk about, that combination. Obviously, I think it can be deadly if I remember right in some instances, but also, just the effects of mixing it with alcohol just like enhances it tenfold.
Oh yeah. I mean, I think that was kind of the thing, was like you take that and you only have to drink one beer at that point because you're gonna go from 6 to midnight real quick.
Man, it's so crazy, bro. Yeah.
Yeah.
So when did it start? Oh, go ahead, man. Go ahead.
Oh, yeah. So then came home, and honestly, I started kind of getting myself back together throughout that year. It really wasn't too horrible or starting to pick up too horrible yet. And then we went to Afghanistan, and I had a girlfriend before I left, and we'd been dating for a year at the time. And I'm kind of detailing this in the book too. But I went through the whole deployment, and we got very, very close. I planned on asking her to marry me whenever I got back. So the day I get back from Afghanistan, I proposed, and we ended up getting married about, I think it was 6 months later. Anyway, like this was the height of, I started drinking then. And this is whenever I was like starting to realize that I was getting way too comfortable with drinking in front of other people, and really opening up to how shitty of a person I was when I was drunk. So she was, she got to the point where she was like, fuck this. Like, I want nothing to do with this guy. Yeah. Wow. And so, we were married. We still got married, and we were married for 9 months. I think that's a record, maybe.
Hey, is that with I watched the video, the Superman video? Is that related to that story, or is that something totally separate?
That was something totally just separate.
Okay, cool.
Yeah. So she told me, and it was and whenever I detail it in the book, it's sad, but it's like it was all my fault, like I own up to it, but she had every right to leave me, and she did, and it was sad. And that's whenever my drinking was like, all right, we're going to do this full time now. Like she's no longer in the picture. So there's nobody sitting, picking at me, telling me I can't.
Yeah.
Then 2015 rolled around, and it was time to get out of the Army. And so I didn't have a fucking plan. Like I had no idea what I was going to do. Like this is the first time in like 8 years that I've had to make a decision for myself. The Army had always done it. And so my buddy Eric, he's like, hey man, move to Omaha, try it out. So I moved up here and started tried to hit the music scene, but I was like drinking so heavily that it was like, it just wasn't happening.
Yeah.
And so he was getting in, and they put an article out in the Omaha World Herald that I think that's what I sent to you initially.
Yeah. Great article, by the way, too. Yeah. It was good.
Yeah. Kevin Coffey did a great job. And he talks about how I would be in the basement, and I just would go down there after work, and I wouldn't want anything to do with him or his wife. And he was like, we did get to the point where it was like, I knew he was like, it's time for you to go. Like I'm trying to like start a family here and you're fucking shit up.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, eventually I left. And then, you know, once I moved out and got my own place, then it was like, boom, we're doing this. Like nobody can look at me look weird. Nobody's going to tell them. Nobody's going to know, you know, like
freedom.
I was preparing to die. I mean, eventually that's what would have happened. So I drank and drank, you know, I was plowing through an 18 pack, anything I could get my hands on every night. Show up to work, still drunk, you know, and no big deal. You're like, you know, it's like nobody's keeping me in check. So that went on for about a year, you know, and finally I was starting to feel like my body's like giving out, you know, like it can't handle this anymore.
No, I know CrossFit's a big part of your routine, your life, and I do want to get into that too. But I just want to ask real quick: were you doing CrossFit? Were you still doing any kind of training? Like, were you staying in shape pretty much, or was this just like the tail end, like where it's like, you know, I'm just getting after the bottle, and that's pretty much it?
Oh yeah, that was, you know, brown bottle curls, I guess, is all the working out I was doing.
Yeah.
And I had to walk my very large ass upstairs every day to get to my apartment.
So that was about all the exercise you got, was between the liquor store and walking your ass up the stairs to go drink.
And holding myself on the wall once I got to the top of the stairs because I was heavy breathing.
Yeah, gosh, man, that's so crazy, bro.
It got bad.
Yeah.
And so I wasn't doing any kind of working out at the time. It was just, you know, and then I got to a point where the breaking point was I had drank all night one night, got up the next morning and was like, well, let's keep this party rolling. And of course I'm the only one that's thinking this, but I think it's a great idea. So I plowed through another, you know, 12 beers, going into noon the next day on a Sunday, and I'm fucking obliterated, dude. Like crying on the phone, talking to Eric. I'm like, I'm gonna kill myself. And he's like, I'm gonna come get you, man. Like, and take you to the VA. And so, you know, I'm thankful every day that he did that because that was such a huge deal.
Yeah.
And he came and got me, and him and his wife, Rachel, came and got me and took me to the VA. 28 days later, it was just like, holy shit, brand new man. So
yeah, it's so crazy.
That's when CrossFit picked up, was after that.
And that was just about 3 years ago, because you're about 3 years sober, right? Right around there.
Right. Yeah.
Almost 3 years.
Yeah, April 23rd will be 3 years.
Nice, man. Yeah. So yeah, let's kind of dive in. And thanks for sharing that, man. Like that last, you know, especially I always feel like the last year, that's usually a lot of the story that I'll share sometimes, because that's really like when it hit home for me, you know, in those last like 6-12 months. Like, it's crazy how like when they talk about alcoholism and addiction, like how much of a progressive disease it is. Like, I got this. And then all of a sudden you wake up one day and you're just like, holy shit, like, who am I? You know what I mean? Like, it's, and that's literally what happened to me. It sounds like that's what happened to you. And I know it happens to a lot of people like that. But transitioning into, you know, what life's like today, man, you've made a ton of changes in your life. You know, you're sober now, obviously. You're going around the country playing shows, doing what you love to do. You got a solid job, so you're taking care of business. What's really life like for you today, man? And what's that recovery program look like?
You know, I really thank CrossFit for being kind of that AA program for me. It's kind of weird how it works that way, but I'll jump into an AA meeting every now and then if I feel like mentally I'm just out of sync.
Yeah.
But I started CrossFit, and, you know, I do that every single night of the week, except for Sundays. I take Sundays off. And every night it's like I go home, and after the gym, and I'm either writing this book that I'm working on, or I'm playing guitar until, you know, I'm a night owl. So it's like 10, 11 o'clock at night.
Yeah.
But life is very much a complete opposite of what it used to be, you know. And as far as healthy decisions, and just like if for some reason, because I still have moments of weakness, just like everybody does at some point, you come across like last night, I was actually thinking about this. Like I had a bottle that I was drinking out of, and I think it was kombucha, and I clicked and I hit the glass on my teeth, and I was like, holy shit, that reminded me of a Bud Light bottle.
Yeah,
like,
it's crazy,
isn't that
huh?
fucking weird how
Yeah,
that works?
yeah.
But so I always have to be on top of those things, and it's like maybe we don't drink out of a glass bottle for a week.
Yeah.
It's funny how that works, but
Yeah.
it's effective. And so life is that, and just trying to stay on top of my health and fitness. That's the major thing. Like that's the one game changer for me, was that I dropped 40 pounds, and now
Nice.
it's like that's all of my decisions throughout the day are based around how am I going to perform tonight in the gym. Like,
Yeah.
as far as my eating, and did I hydrate enough, and don't have coffee after 2:00, and all those certain things.
So it sounds like you're on a pretty a pretty tight schedule for the most part, and you kind of know what your normal day for the most part is going to look like. You have certain times that you do things. You're doing CrossFit daily. I think that for everybody out there, everybody's different. Some people do different things that work for them that might not work for the other person. The one thing I found, at least in talking to a lot of people and from my own experience too, is that the biggest thing is staying like on some sort of schedule, on staying on some sort of, so the schedule, and then also doing something that you enjoy to do. So like CrossFit, sounds like you enjoy to do it. You stay super fit doing it. I know CrossFit, I don't know a whole lot about it, but I do know that one thing about CrossFit is that it's a really tight-knit community. And so you have other people who are holding you accountable. Like accountability is huge.
Right.
So like, I'm sure, like how big has that community in CrossFit been for you?
It's been huge, and I started at this gym whenever it was very small. There was under 100 members. And now it's starting to grow more, but
Yeah.
I've kept that tight knit community of friends that I had initially whenever I first started. And that honestly, some of those friends are the reason why I have the job that I have today. And,
Nice.
and it's just, it's a great way to network. And I've gotten a lot of my shows through the gym, from people that work out there, and just those people in general, they're good people. Like they're health conscious. They're not worried about going out and getting, shit faced on the weekend. So it's not like I have to compete with that, like, or that I'm around it.
Yeah.
And, I think, and maybe you'll agree with me, but just being around somebody that drinks occasionally, I'm totally cool with that. But it's whenever you're around somebody else that has a problem, that's whenever it's like, okay, it's affecting me on a personal level now, because I don't want to see somebody do that,
Yeah. Well,
It's
like we can't hide from alcohol. We can't just jump in a corner and hide. Like there's plenty of people out there who can responsibly drink. I have no clue how they do it. I can't do it. I have plenty of family, plenty of friends who still enjoy to have a couple beers, hang out. Like I'm with you. I don't have any problem being around that. But it's like when it gets to a certain level where like I can always see it in somebody's eyes too. It's like there's this certain threshold, and then once that threshold is crossed, I can it's like this blank stare, and I'm like, yeah, okay, I gotta go. I'm out of here right now. I know what's coming,
Yeah, I don't want to be a part of the furniture on fire in the back.
Exactly, bro. I don't want anything to do with that. I'm gone.
Yeah, and it's funny too. The more comfortable I get with sobriety and being sober and talking about it, the more uncomfortable other people get. It's crazy how that works.
Yeah.
It's fucking nuts. But like I'm sitting there, and somebody's like, we'll be at a dinner or something, and they'll be like ordering beers around the tables, and I'm like, oh, I'll just take an iced tea, and they're like, you don't want anything to drink, or else, something similar. And I'm like, oh no, I don't drink, which is no big deal for me. But all of a sudden they're like, oh yeah, I've never had a problem with it. I mean, that's the first
Why is it always that? I know it is, dude. I totally noticed that too. It's like, and it happens more often than not, where it's like immediate justification of they only drink on this day or that day. And I'm not judging anybody, but I'm just saying I've experienced it too. You know what I mean? And it sounds like, I don't really care what you do personally. Like, I mean, that's, I don't care what anybody does. It's not my thing. I got my own crap I'm all jacked up myself, you know, but it's kind of funny how that happens, you know? And I noticed too, like when I do say that, and I try to limit that, is I never go around and say, I don't drink, you know what I mean? But it does come up sometimes. Say, no, you know, just like you said, like, nah, I'll have a water or you know, Pellegrino. Sometimes I'll order whatever. But I also notice that people are really intrigued by it, because I think deep down, a lot of people know, and they may not have a problem with alcohol, but a lot of people know that there's an issue in our culture and in our society with it. It's so bombarded. We're so bombarded by pharmaceuticals, by alcohol, by stuff to alter our state of consciousness and reality, that there's this little gut feeling where they go, wait a minute, like, you're sober? Like, what is that like? Like, people want to know what that's like, you know? And it's a trip, dude. I think it's starting to catch on though.
Right. And that's the same thing with, like, you know, you talk about pharmaceuticals and just over-the-counter medications. It's like you're programmed to believe that, hey, this will help fix whatever ailment that you have. Like, use this. And I think people's brains say the same thing for alcohol. Like, I've had a rough day. Like, let's drink a beer to relax. And it's like,
totally, there
are better ways to do it, you know? And I've figured these out. Just follow the way I did it, you know? I'm not pushing that on anyone, but it's like, this is what's going to come up.
This is kind of what worked. Yeah, this is what worked for me. That's one thing my sponsor and I talk about, is like, you know, I'm only sharing what's worked for me. So that's all I really know. And you know, as long as I stay in my lane on that, like, I'm good to go, because that's really all I know, and it's all I don't know at the same time. To bring up a good point too, like, it's like, oh, you feel like shit? Take this pill. You can't get a boner? Take this pill. You can't, you know, you want to feel like, you know, more energy? Take this pill. I mean, it's just like, dude, like, when does it come down to, like, I just want to feel again? Like, just let me feel. Let me just numb out. Like, it's okay to feel shitty sometimes. It's okay to feel weird thoughts sometimes. It's okay to feel a little anxiety sometimes. These are normal feelings that, as human beings, we're supposed to feel. And if we're constantly numbing it out, dude, I'm like a zombie, you know?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. And I remember after the VA and being on, like, antidepressants, they were testing out different ones on me. And I'm like, I just feel like I should be able to, like, approach this from, like, a way other than using drugs, you know? And I do. And I'm not saying anything like people that take antidepressants, like, get off of them. No,
totally.
Like, some people fucking need them, you know?
Absolutely.
And I'm just not, I just never felt like I was one of those people. I felt like I was using it as a crutch or an excuse.
Yeah.
And that's just my personal take on it. But, you know, you talking about, like, ibuprofen, here, take this for that, you know, sore ankle that you have. And it's just like, in me anymore, I try to just, like, no, like, that's not how it's gonna, like, you know, and CrossFit in so many different ways too. CrossFit, our coach is always like, well, you need to work on your, you know, your flexibility and try to work out those issues that you're having. So long-term perspective, like, they're fixed rather than, like, a temporary fix.
Yeah, well, because CrossFit beats you up a bit, right? I mean, you're doing high-intensity workouts, a lot of reps. I mean, like I said, I don't know a lot about it. I've never done it before. We have some friends who do it, and they're in absolute phenomenal shape. But I've seen some of the videos of them doing it, and I'm like, holy shit, like, that's some hardcore stuff.
Yeah, and people always say, you know, like, oh, I'm never going to CrossFit because I'll get hurt and all this stuff. And it's like, well, if you go to the wrong gym and they train you wrong, you're probably going to get hurt. Like, that's with anything, you know. So, yeah, we do some gymnastic movements. And, you know, there was a point in my life where looking at a set of rings hanging from a ceiling, I wouldn't know what to do. And now it's like, I'm going to do a muscle up on those. Like, what the fuck? Like, like, who is this person today? Like,
so crazy. Totally new name.
yeah. And, you know, lifting some heavy weights and just hanging out with some friends in the evenings. And this is what we do instead of, you know, meeting at a bar. We meet at the bar, the weightlifting bar.
Yeah, so
as
much
corny
better.
as that sounds. But
so my buddy Ken, he says, He says, "Yeah, I'm gonna go to or what does he say? I'm gonna go pick up heavy things and then set them down. I'll be back later." Something like that.
Pick things up and put them
Yeah, I'm
down.
gonna pick shit up that are heavy. I'm gonna put them down, and hopefully I get in some decent shape.
Yeah, lose a little bit of weight in the
Yeah,
process.
yeah. You know what I've been doing, bro? I've been talking about this probably too much on the podcast, and everyone's cracking up. But dude, I got a mountain bike around Christmas time, bro, and I've been shredding on this thing, dude. It's been so fun. Like, I feel like I'm like 12 again, riding a bike around. Just anything staying active is good.
Biking is fucking awesome for your body, just in
Yeah,
general. Like, you wouldn't believe that, like, say if tomorrow you decided that, hey, I'm going to go try CrossFit, just having like that extra like leg strength is going to make a world of difference, like
oh
for
yeah,
anything.
yeah,
Because you talk about functional fitness, you talk about just being able to get up from a chair without having to use your arms, and just lifting your body weight up.
yeah,
There's a lot of people that can't fucking do that,
yeah, yeah.
and they're the same people that make fun of CrossFitters. It's like, oh, I
Yeah,
can
that's
get out of
good.
this chair no problem. So, and I can, I can pull my own body weight up to a bar. Like,
Yeah.
these are things that make people uncomfortable, and that's why they don't do them.
Well, see,
And
I think there's a really good analogy that just kind of hit me right now in this CrossFit or mountain biking, getting into squat rack, whatever it is. Like, you didn't 3 years ago. You didn't come in, on day 1 or day 30 or even probably day, 60 and was an amazing CrossFitter. Like, you've put in the work. Like you said it earlier, you show up every day. You put the work in. You stretch. You do all the things that come along with CrossFit. And in order to stay in shape, I'm sure you probably eat pretty well. That's got to be a big part of it too. So that transitions into recovery too. Like, we get the question like, well, how do you stay sober? Well, there's no magic wand that just keeps you sober. You put in the work. You know what I'm saying? You're showing up. You're doing service. You got community around you. Those types of that, and they're like really fundamental things too, like community, having a mentor or a sponsor. I mean, those are two huge ones right there that can really help, like, kind of catapult you on that right path, I guess. You know what I'm saying?
yeah, definitely, man. And like, and this is crazy. Before I got sober, I was super drunk one night and wrote Richard Patrick, the lead singer of Filter. I
Oh.
wrote him a message, and he's sober, going on, I can't remember how many years. It's like 15,
Hey,
16 years.
Philip, I'm fucking wasted right now. I just
Yeah.
want to tell you I love your music.
Basically, in
So
a
good.
nutshell, that's what
Yeah.
happened. But I wrote him, and I'm like, hey, I need fucking help.
Yeah.
Like, you've been through it. Tell me what to do. Well, he didn't respond until like a year later, and at that point, I was already sober. But
Really?
we've become friends now. And
Oh,
he
that's cool.
he's kind of my sponsor now. It's fucking
Really?
crazy. Like, this guy that I had a poster of on my wall growing up is now my sponsor, because I was an alcoholic at one point in my life.
That's awesome.
And so, just, he's taught me a lot too. He's like, dude, you got to keep writing music. This is a way. This is your outlet for expressing how you're feeling. And just, he talks about, like, after shows, he's like, just go home. Like, he's like,
Yeah.
you can talk to people and network and all of that stuff, but he was like, at what point in your career as a musician has staying at the bar past your show ever got
Yeah.
you anything good? And I
Yeah.
was like, never. Besides, I got paid and I went home.
That's right. Yeah. Maybe.
Yeah,
Yeah. Get paid, sell a little bit of merch, shake some hands, a couple hugs, and then boom, out of there. I think that's a good
yeah,
strategy.
yeah.
Uh,
And now, now too, it's like, I've got a AA meeting that takes place at the church just up the street from my apartment, and it's me. I'm probably the youngest guy in there. Everybody else is like 60s up to 80.
yeah.
Nicest fucking people in the
Oh
world,
yeah,
dude.
for
Like,
sure.
and everybody in there has some horrible story that I'm just like, you don't, now seeing these people now, you just don't picture some little old lady that's like 90 pounds, like, causing this much damage,
Yeah. I
to
know, it's
anybody.
crazy.
But at one point she did, and
Yeah.
and I've been going to those on Monday nights now, because I was like, I was going through a hard part, or a hard patch, I guess, recently, where I was just like mentally checked out. And I'm like, I can't be checking out like this because people rely on me to, be engaged. And so I, started going back to those, and they work wonders, really, honestly. Like, and I never did rag on AA at all, but it was just like, I just never felt like it was for me.
Yeah, I think a lot of people feel like that. And I think, though, that there's, for me at least, there was a bigger thing. And I know I've felt like that plenty of times before too. Like in any program, whether it's like, CR, AA, NA, Refuge, like you got all kinds of different programs. And like I said earlier, some that work for some might not work for others, vice versa. But like staying engaged and plugged in is so, so important. Like you said, you're going every Monday nights. Like I go every Monday nights to CR. Obviously I have to do a lot of work on the podcast too. So I'm constantly staying engaged. But it's funny. My homie Shane and I, he's another Shane, one of the only other Shanes I've ever met in my life. But we got up real early this morning and we walked, and we do this occasionally. We'll walk a couple miles out here in Vacaville up this big hill called Wyckoff, and good exercise and some good chats along the way. And we were talking this morning. Do you remember that movie Heat?
Oh yeah,
Robert De Niro, and one of the best. What a great movie. Well, there's a scene in there, and him and I were talking about when you get to that point where it could go, there's like that fork in the road. You could go right or you could go left. And right is like taking the high road and staying on point. And left is going down, that's going to put you 10 years back. And maybe you end up dead or in prison, or you end up back drinking and doing drugs or whatever. Right. And I always feel like if I'm not, because people ask me, well, do you still go to meetings? Why do you do that? You've been 5 years sober. It's like, that doesn't matter to me, because at any moment in my life, that little voice up there can come in and it can fuck me big time. And I'm so scared of that. And that's what happened on the movie Heat. If you remember the dude in the kitchen, he was trying to live a better life. He was on the right path. He was doing a good thing. And, shit got hard. I think he got fired from his job in the movie, or he was just tired of the boss who was an asshole. He wasn't making a lot of money. And that moment of opportunity came in, and the dude was like, hey, you want in on this or not? And he said, fuck it, I'm in. And he ended up dying. He ended up getting shot, and it's like I'm so scared of that moment coming in where I'm weak and like I'm not staying plugged into my community and my recovery and stuff. And boom, like that's all it takes. That one moment kind of takes you out,
Yeah. And, it's crazy too, is whenever you see it from the outside perspective too, as far as I've, sober at this point, I've been sober for 3 years, or up to 3 years almost. And at any point I know that I could go back. Well, I've got buddies who I grew up with who are now going through those beginning stages of they're starting to go down the rabbit hole, and I'm hearing their excuses. And I'm like, I'm the last person you need to give excuses to, It's like, I've fucking been there, man. Like, so everything that you're telling me, I know is bullshit. Like, and it's crazy, to see it from the other side, because you're like, oh, fuck, why don't we get it? Like, come on, man. It's simple, but it is simple for us because, 5 years, 3 years, however long it's been, it's a day-to-day process. And looking at it from, okay, what did I do with my sobriety today? How did I approach this differently than I would have if I'd, been drinking or something like that? What's like, okay, I went to the gym. I worked, I worked my job, and maybe it's sometimes even just like, I had an interaction with a coworker that was positive, and sometimes I didn't feel like doing that at the time, but I got out of my comfort zone in that moment to attack that, because I know it's something I need to work on,
Totally.
So
when you mentioned, like, you kind of brought up the 12th step there, the 12th step in service. Like you said, you're like your buddy who is starting to be in the early stages of trying to think about it, figure it out. And I have some homies like that too. And we've been able to connect. And like now I get to share with them, what's worked for me and how like I was able to, stop, and what I continue to do to, so I think one of our leaders and a good friend of mine, Bill from CR, he said it the other night. He's like, recovery is, I don't just wake up, I'm not just sober today. Like, recovery is like a lifestyle. Like, I live this shit out day in and day out, because it's just what I do. You know what I mean? And then the opportunity to give that back and share with someone else, man, I know for me, that's what helps keep me sober too.
Oh, definitely. I don't know if have you ever seen the movie What Dreams May Come with Robin Williams? It
Mm,
was it was a '90s movie, and
I don't know. Maybe back in the day. I know what movie you're talking about, but I don't remember any parts of it.
okay, well, basically, Robin Williams dies in the beginning. He's in heaven. His wife can't deal with it, so she commits suicide. So she's
Oh,
stuck in purgatory, and
wow.
he has to go through the depths of hell in order to go to purgatory in order to try to retrieve her. And this is what I have chalked it up to feeling like whenever I'm talking to my friend. It's like she's in complete denial of where she's at in the movie. She thinks that like she deserves what's happening. And it's the same
Yeah,
thing with my buddy now. He thinks he deserves everything that he's getting. And I'm like, to some extent you probably do, you know, and you'll come to terms with that later. But right now we need to address the fact that every night you're going through a handle of fucking Jack Daniels, and
yeah,
that eventually I don't want to come down here at some point and see your skin start to turn yellow, and that
yeah,
there's no turning back at that point. You know,
yeah.
um, it's the last thing I want. And you know, it's trying to get somebody to understand that you can't do it on your own. That's been so, you know, self-reliant for so long. It's a struggle,
Well, it's
but
it's it's nearly impossible, man. And I've dealt with it plenty of times with even my someone in my family, man. Like I can't, I can never tell anyone else what to do or what they should do or what I think's best for them. You know, number one, nobody wants to be told what to do, and number two, like God's got a plan for every person. I feel like, and that's you know, that's His job. My job's just kind of to love them. You know what I'm saying? Like just
right.
let me love on you, but in many aspects, I'm gonna have to love you from a long distance because like I can't have that toxicity in my life, and that's really the tough part about it, I think.
Right. Yeah. I mean, I spent so much time, and you and I both spent so much time reconditioning our brains to understand that we can't have that thing that we wanted at one point, and
Yeah,
now kind of being around it. If I were to hang around him like all the time, it would. I know I would relapse. I mean, eventually it would just happen, you know,
yeah,
because he's got the thirst to do it. Probably at some point would outweigh the rewards of what I'm getting now. Like,
yeah, yeah,
and it's fucking sad, but it's the reality of it. It's just,
yeah.
and that's where, you know, like you were talking about with it takes constant effort and constant work, and I have to, you know, take these indicators or red flags and say I can't be a part of that, like
Oh yeah.
right right now, you
And
know.
and dude, some days like I wake up and I don't want to do the work. Like I don't want to, you know, be in recovery. Like as jacked up as it is to say, like there's days when I wake up, I'm like, dude, like I don't. Like it's a lot of work sometimes, you know. And I'm like, it can be overwhelming at times too. But I know, like at the end of the day, like that's really what it takes, and that's kind of when you have other people around you to help you get through those types of things. It ain't always easy, you know. Um,
Right.
yeah, we just got a couple more minutes, man. But
Okay.
before we wrap this up, um, you know, if anyone out there listening right now, especially maybe a veteran out there, man, you know, we always try to speak to our veterans, and our active duty, or anybody at that, man. Nick, what advice would you give them? What can you share with them that's worked for you, or a word of positivity, man?
I think that the one thing I wish somebody would have done is if you're listening and you're somebody that knows somebody that's doing that, or if you are somebody like that, it's like it needs to be brought out into the open, because making a public statement about it is going the only way that it's going to work.
It's good.
If people know the life that you're living, and all of a sudden it's on a giant billboard on the side of the road, all of a sudden it's harder to do. You know, it's harder to keep living that life,
Yeah,
and and to keep, you know, just keep going. When the days seem like they suck, and you don't want to get up and you don't want to do the work that it takes to remain sober or to get sober, that's the day that you need to put the most effort into it. That is,
yeah.
so those are such critical days. But those are, you know, those are some things for me. And honestly, it's just, you've got to make that decision. I can, you know, nobody's going to be able to make it for you.
Yeah,
And that's the one thing. Just find somebody that's gonna help you out and kind of lead you in the right direction. But
that's
that's
good,
what I've
man.
got.
It's good, dude. Good stuff, bro. Nick Rucker, man. Hey, I appreciate you, man. I know Spotify, your music's on Spotify. You got the website, nickruckercountry.com. Where can people find you on Instagram?
It's just Ruck Country, RUCK, then country.
Rut Country. A Perfect Time. That was one of the songs I really dug, man. Really, really cool song, dude. I found that on Spotify, I think, too. That was a good one, bro.
Yeah. A lot of people like that one. It was my more, I guess, radio friendly song.
Yeah,
So,
definitely catchy, dude. Catchy tune for sure, man. Well, cool, dude. I appreciate you, man. Thank you for coming on the podcast. I wish you the best with the music, dude, and everything that you're doing, man. Recovery, all that stuff, bro. And thank you again for your service, man. We appreciate that, all of us at Sober Guy, bro.
Definitely. Thanks, Shane.
All right, guys. Thank you for tuning in today. You can check us out at thatsoberguy.com. Connect with us on Instagram at real.soberguy, at Shane Raymer on Twitter. Love you guys. Thank you again for the support. Peace, love, respect, and keep your blood clean.